Hello everybody and welcome to the place they call America's National Park of Speed. For over 7 decades, Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin has been testing the world's finest. Just over 4 miles around, 14 corners listed. Action areas, turn number 1, watch out for track limits there. Turn 5, my goodness, we've seen plenty of spins, thrills and spills there already. Down at the bottom of turn 8, the left-hander that leads into one of the 2 signature corners. Turn 8 and then turn 9 and 10 is the carousel. Through the kink, tricky in the damp conditions that we've got down. And then from Canada corner all the way back to the start line, it's uphill. So don't be eking out your VP racing fuel on the last lap of the race. 120 minutes for the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. I'm John Hindhaugh. Alongside me is Ryan Maring, and our BDO pit lane reporter is Arjuna Kangapati. Has the rain stopped, Arjuna?
We've had a bit of a back and forth where the rain would drizzle a bit harder, but right now, John, I put my hand out and I'm feeling no spots of rain. And I think that's why the word from race control is that we're going to get a regular 2x2 start and send them out for the full 2 hours of racing as they get ready on their second formation lap right now.
Well, they've gone through and the time has not started, so we should come to the line and the green flag next time around. Offline, it is considerably wetter than online. Race control sensibly have deemed this a wet race. And what does that mean, Ryan Marie?
It means everybody in the field has to start on the Michelin wet weather tires. That choice was taken away from the teams. But from here on out, it is at the team's discretion. How long do they want to stay on the wets? When do they want to make the jump to the dries? And how that factors into the strategy, that really adds a wrinkle for all the strategies up and down the pit lane. 2 Corvettes, Chevrolet Corvette safety cars. We split the field. When we come, if we need them again and we have to restart, all of the TCRs will stop behind all of the GSs. We were thinking that it was going to be a pretty well delineated field between the GS GT4 cars and the TCRs, but this wet weather and the cooler temperatures, that actually might bring us back into the realms of LP Montour, who's on pole in TCR, getting in to the back of the GS cars, particularly early on. It won't take too long. LP thought it could really accelerate the amount of time it takes for the front of the TCR field to catch the back of the GS field. There's some relatively inexperienced drivers starting some of the GS cars, might not have a lot of rain experience, so that adds to the level of jeopardy for the TCR frontrunners.
And, of course, rear drive in GS. Always maybe want to be a little bit tentative. Getting heat into the rear tyres, well, yes, you can spin them up, but you don't want to overspin them. But those front tyres on the GS cars, they're going to stay cold for a long time and give push, understeer. That's not confidence inspiring either for an inexperienced driver. Whereas in the front wheel drive cars, oh, hello, you've got it all going for you.
And they'll be right at home in conditions like these. Again, in the dry, we thought maybe about 3 seconds in ultimate pace, the difference between the GS cars and the TCR cars, but that goes out the window in conditions like these.
Not everyone has had a clean run, and certainly the number 55 Audi had not. That car was off and had to be refettled between yesterday and today. It starts at the back of the field. It's just actually stopped on the course, but a Control-Alt-Delete has seen Eddie go get that bright orange number 55 Audi running late to the grid as well. Was the number 4 Hunter Yaney driven Medusa Motorsports Aston Martin Vantage. They've had an awful weekend, missed a lot of the early running. They were late on the grid, so they go all the way back, not starting in 17th, they'll start in 28th in GS.
Yeah, it's a tough break for them, certainly on a difficult weekend, as you pointed out. They'll start next to another team that's had a difficult weekend, and that's the Carbon with Peregrine Racing team. Sean McAllister will start the car. He had the big crash in qualifying that interrupted the qualifying session. They've had to go to a backup chassis, and that's the reason, in addition to the fact they lost all their fast laps in qualifying, one of the reasons, among many apparently, that they have to start toward the back, but the penalty to the Medusa car puts it even further behind.
2 hours on the clock. Hello to those of you in the UK and Europe. Saturday night racing for you. Michelin Pilot Challenge coming up to 10 minutes before 7 in the UK, where it's been ridiculously dry for the last 12, 13 weeks. A little bit later on, an hour later in Central Europe, 10 minutes to 8. Hello to Thomas Pitts, who's joining us as well. Been a bit jealous of seeing a race circuit having rain. Can you blow hard toward Buckinghamshire, where it currently looks like a savanna? Buckinghamshire right next to Silverstone in the middle of England. 2 hours on the clock. We're ready to go green. We are green. And Hannah Grisham leads them away on the wetter side of the track. She went a little bit early, and I like thinking to make sure that she wasn't caught out when going full throttle. The wipers are on. There is some spray in the air. The battle is for second. Down the inside, Copeland Motorsport, the Toyota Supra, and Evan Slater fighting it out for Core Motorsports. Here come the TCRs past the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. LP Monto did exactly the same as Hannah Grisham. Just made sure he had a car or a car and a half, and he can drop on to the middle of the road. He's sort of defending his line, doesn't really need to do too much of that. Brian Hurd at Autosport, Mason Filippi was down the inside of Rocco Pasquarella as they went into turn one. And yes, we've all got through the first two corners, down to turn 5 feet for the front of the field, Ryan. That's been an action area all weekend so far, but it seems mercifully that the majority, at least, of the GS field has got through, and Hannah Grisham has converted the pole position into a handy little cushion.
And done a great job on the start, hasn't she, to hang on there at the beginning of this race. Big loser on the start appears to be Moise Uretsky. Had a 6th place grid position, but he's dropped several spots since then. Now a couple of Mustangs doing battle down through Hurry Downs. This is all happening behind Grisham, who has been able to extend the lead. It's something like 10 car lengths now into the carousel.
So that battle going on behind Hannah Grisham, maybe having an advantage, giving her the advantage. The blue McCumbee McAleer Racing Ford Mustang right in there as well. That's the number 13 car, and we've got a slow moving machine. It's the Pan Am Motorsport GR Supra, the white, black and orange number 54 car. It's moving around to the back. I think there might be suspension damage or tyre damage to the left rear.
It looks very curious the way that it's moving down the track. That's been a pace-setting car here this weekend in the dry. The Supras have been extremely strong, but that was another one of those cars that was caught out by the red flag in the middle of GS qualifying.
The other car involved, we believe, was the number 67. This was all went off at turn number 7, which has got more runoff there. That's the BSI Racing Toyota, and that second car that was the second car, and the Pan Am Motorsport Toyota as well. We'll get you more news on that as it comes in. Meantime, the leaders complete their first lap of the 2 hours time certain race, almost 3 wide. Going into that first corner, you don't slow down that much nowadays. Turner Motorsport side by side as well. That was right in there with the Aston Martin, I think, going through.
Yeah, I think that was Alan Patton that he was side by side with there, and a little bit of side-to-side contact might have knocked the mirror ajar on the Aston of Patton. Right now, the Turner BMW, though, got the better of that scrap, and now McIvern will put his head down and try and chase down Paul Holton. That was a position gain for the BMW to 6th place now.
Air temperature starting to come up just a little bit, 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. It's a relatively chilly for the Michelin tyres, 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius on the track. The tyres will come and you have to be so careful setting your tyre pressures before you go out there. 66 car running a little bit wide again there at the top of the hill at turn number 6. That dark coloured Aston Martin maybe just getting a little too close to the car ahead. Meanwhile, down at turn number 8, it's Ford on Ford, blue oval on blue oval. And is that a pass for second? It is. Robert Noaker goes past Evan Slater. 2.5 seconds up the road is the other dark blue car. That's the Aston Martin of pole sitting driver Hannah Grisham. She qualified in pole. She started on pole and she leads the race.
Well, Noaker had been asking some questions of Slater there for really since the drop of the green flag. Finally was able to solve that riddle, got around the outside and completed the pass. Slater's troubles aren't done though, because Ford Koch has arrived on the scene. Another Mustang in the form of Paul Holton not too far behind. Meanwhile, moment for the leader, LP Montour, leader in TCR. He's wide at the bottom of the hill in turn 5. That opened the door for Rocco Pasquarella to come up the inside and grab the leading class.
Lovely job by Rocco Pasquarella. He pushed the pole sitter very hard indeed, and it looks very much to me as though Mason Filippi's followed him through. Yes, he has. So down through the kink at turn 4. So LP Montour will be kicking himself there. Now he's got to look in his mirrors to see that's going to be Sam Baker that's back there. Is it the blue and silver Audi as they come down into Canada corner? And already, Ryan, I'm seeing drivers starting to look for the wetter parts of the track.
It's not going to take long for these wet weather tires to start screaming. They are great when the track is soaked. When it starts to dry out, the temperature starts to soak into these tires, and they're really not meant to be run in drying conditions.
Gets worse for Moise Uretsky at Ibiza Farm Motorsports. He was in the wrong lane at the start, and that's a drive-through. He's already gone through the pit lane to serve that penalty. Meantime, let's go down to our pit lane reporter, PDO pit lane reporter Arjuna Kankapati with news on Ford number 67.
Yeah, the BSI Toyota had a little bit of steering offset after what we think was contact with Pan Am's Toyota, but fortunately no puncture like we saw with the Pan Am crew coming in and changing the left front, John.
Sorry, changed the manufacturer there for that team, my apologies. Sam Baker goes round the outside of LP Montour. That Honda from MMG not liking the damp conditions. LP on the damp part of the track. He's desperately trying to get those front tyre temperatures down. I think Sam Baker in the liquid moly silver and light blue Audi has gone past and immediately puts time into him. Pulls out 1, maybe 2 cars lengths, whereas at the front of the field, the gap between Rocco Pasquarella and Mason Filippi as they go under the Corvette bridge to turn number 6 is absolutely nothing.
Well, here's the curious thing about this. Montour driving a Honda has dropped back. Pasquarella driving a Honda has gone forward. So it's not a Honda specific thing, but it might be a team setup specific thing. And here's the thing. We thought this track would dry out before it's all said and done. Could someone, as Pasquarella is threatened to the outside here by Filippi making that outside line work, or is he?
Went off the track, did he there? He might just want to lift off for a moment. No, he's completed the pass, but Pasquarella is holding on the outside of turns 9 and 10. We call it the carousel for a reason. He's on a wild ride at the moment. He's paid his money and he stays in the throttle. That is lovely stuff from those two. Very respectful racing by both of those drivers. I can only be tyre pressures, can't it, at the start of the race?
Well, unless you took one team kind of put a wet weather setup on the car, another might have put a dry weather setup, expecting it to dry out, so you take your medicine now, but you feel better at the end of the race. This is all speculation. I don't know. But Pasquarella goes wide again. This time opens up the door for Filippi. Can this be the move for Filippi? Yes, it can.
Mason Filippi does not need a second invitation. Certainly didn't need one that was posted to him and nicely handwritten. No, that was enough. The door was open and slides that multicoloured Hyundai through there. Hyundai with one of the manufacturers, one of many manufacturers and teams in the IMSA paddock who have their social responsibility programs, and they are raising money for children's charities. Excellent work that they are doing. Now, meantime, at the front of the field, Hannah Grisham has held on to the lead. Robert Noaker got to the back of the Aston Martin, but has not been able to get through. Further back down, Varon Choksi, fast car in the number 12 Toyota, had to go to the back because he caused a red flag in one of the early practice sessions, and that negated his fastest lap in qualifying. But he's coming through the field now, and he's in 17th position. And that's Bryce Ward right ahead of him.
He's made good progress, has Farouk, here in the early going. Sizing up Bryce, who from the onboard shot we got from Choksi's car, it looked like Bryce got roughed up a little bit in his battle that was happening just ahead, and it's brought him back now to the hard-charging Varun Choksi, winner the last time out, let's remember, at CTMP.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something about that, isn't it? When you've won a race, you know that you can win a race, and it's the old saying of the monkey off the back. LP Monto, I think, going wide at turn 5. Yes, it was. That number 93 car dropping down the field in TCR, and LP, he's not enjoying these opening laps. He goes door mirror to door mirror with the Cupra Leon, the number 99 car of Stephen Clemens, and that's now the battle for 6th and 7th position.
I really hope this is just a case of the car not liking these conditions. He goes straight again. That's down at turn 8, able to keep it on the pavement, but boy, that's a car that doesn't look like it's to his liking.
I'm going to throw this out here, and I know Arjuna will be at Montreal Motorsport Group asking this question. ABS issue?
Yeah, I wonder, because it doesn't look like when he's going to the brake pedal that it's giving him what he's expecting. We've seen him go long in a few brake zones already, and I just go back to Watkins Glen where he had that brilliant pole lap, but then the car was an early out with a technical issue, and I really hope we're not seeing more of the same.
It's 2 or 3 times we've seen that now, and if there's an issue with a sensor or the system just not getting the information it needs, look, driver aids, it's controversial, but they are part of motor racing nowadays. These TCR cars, they never were a road car. They were built as a race car, and race ABS is very, very sophisticated. Meanwhile, battle for the front of the lead, down at turn 5, Hannah gets very sideways, and how does Hannah Grisham save that? That was absolutely backing it in. She's got a career in World Superbikes if she wants to leave 4 wheels. That was incredible, incredible car control.
I was thinking she could take that slide down to Plymouth, just down the road on the dirt, and she'd fit right in. Unfortunately, it cost her the lead of the race to a hard-charging Robert Nowaker, but that was a tremendous save.
Oh, I mean, what was that? 25, 30 degrees to the angle of travel. Just got the right rear Michelin onto the white line. She's lost the lead. Nowaker was very, very close behind coming through. Oh, almost clipped the back of the Aston as Hannah lifted out nice and early. And then we saw all the way down the side of that Aston Martin, now in 2nd position. Nowaker at the front of the field. Now, we've seen Robert Nowaker in the past in some of the single manufacturer championships under the IMSA umbrella, Ryan Marine, and we know, give him a sniff of some clear track, give him some intermediate conditions. We don't have intermediate tyres, but these are definitely intermediate conditions. He could be gone here.
He's looking extremely strong, extremely confident in the handling of that Mustang at this stage. Looking for that first win of the season. Maybe this is the day for that breakthrough.
Just ran down pit lane to check in with the Montreal Motorsports Group, number 93 Honda, John. They are experiencing some brake issues right now, and that's why I think you've seen off the road a couple of times LP Montour. I also caught up with the KMW Honda crew, and they said that they run slightly different brake pad material potentially, so even though they're both Hondas, there's a little subtle difference potentially that's rearing its head right now.
Hello to Dylan Spalding. Nothing beats watching IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge on his birthday. Happy birthday to Dylan Spalding. Not sure where you are in the world. First time ever I've watched Michelin Pilot Challenge, says Lee Jordan. Where have you been? You didn't even give us a note from your mother. This has got me intrigued. Thanks for the birthday shout out earlier this week. And right turn lover in Switzerland. Our meadows are not supposed to be golden. Please, can we have some of the precipitation you've got in Wisconsin? RTL, good to know you tuned in there at just after 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening in the centre of Europe. Hop Suisse, as I'm contractually obliged to say, having had my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, was born and bred in that fine area of the world. Rafa Racing number 12 in the pit lane for Varun Choksi, and that has not been a good week for that red, white and black car at all. It's down and away again. That's its 2nd time in the pits because it had to come through for the drive-through for the start infringement there, Ryan. And we'll get a word from Arjuna, I'm sure, in a moment, but that has, generally speaking, been a fast car this year.
Incredibly fast, really from the beginning of the year, but again, until the last time out at CTP, really never could put a full race weekend together. Started off the weekend with the fastest time in the first practice session, but it's not been going according to plan ever since then. The car heading back out on track though right now. By the way, there was a warning issued moments ago to Alan Patton for incident responsibility. I believe that was with Moise Uretsky. So I bet that goes back to the very start of the race. No penalty other than the warning though, but that did get race control's attention as we got another car off track.
Sebring Racing AMG Aurora Strauss was in 14th position, went off the road at the exit of the carousel. That's been an area that we see. I mean, we talk about that as being a great area of the circuit. We don't often see so many people off in the gravel or the dirt there unless they've had contact or an issue. But that has been somewhere well, if you're sitting on the backside or round about that area, overlooking it from the other side, from the campgrounds, which are packed, by the way. There was a queue here before 7 o'clock on Thursday morning. When they opened the gates, it was still there at 7:45, backed up onto the highway. And by the way, kudos to Road America and their traffic management plans. They have you snaking through part of the infield so that back up onto the highway doesn't happen at the main gate. We're going to keep our eyes on the third place battle in TCR. Meantime, let's go for a BDO pit lane report. Luca Mars is with Arjuna Kankapati.
Defending GS champion, and of course was leading the points a couple of weeks ago, but struggles at Watkins Glen and CTMP. No fault of yours or the team to put you slightly back on the behind the 8 ball. Seems to be going quite well. Dylan McIverne's gone from 7th to 4th on the start.
Yeah, after 2 races kind of out of our control, it's nice to see this one's going better so far. Dylan's been killing it out in these mixed conditions right now. He seems really fast. He's working on the guy in 3rd place right now, so just doing what we need to do, trying to get the best result. Mustang's out there in 1st, but there's a lot of time to go, so anything can happen. But I know Dylan's going to be quick, and these guys always have good strategy, so I'm excited to get out there and see what happens.
What's Dylan been saying about the track? Is it drying up? Have you started to think about the crossover into slicks and putting you in?
Yeah, he said it's drying up, obviously, but definitely too early for slicks right now. And with this constant drizzle, it's kind of hard to tell. So he'll keep giving us feedback, and we'll see what other drivers out there do. But it's hard to tell from right now, so we'll see.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Dylan McIverne in a titanic scrap at the moment with Ford Koch for 3rd place overall. The BMW in the, well, absolutely iconic blue, yellow and red colours. People have some white colours rather of Turner Motorsport themselves, inspired by the Renault Laguna colours back in the BTCC, right in behind Ford Koch, and they're side by side, and McIverne's gone through, got more grip off the racing line there, coming out of Canada corner, takes the position.
Might want to file that away for the future if he's able to run down Hannah Grisham, although he's got about 8 seconds he needs to find to do so. But that was a nifty maneuver. Got to the outside of Ford Koch and found a lot of grip out there, was able to power on by and take that 3rd position. While they were scrapping though, that's allowed Alan Patton to start to close in. Paul Holton is in tow, and Robert McGinnis is giving the 92 Random Vandals entry a pretty good ride here today as well. He's creeping up into this conversation, sitting in 7th place.
The GS cars in particular are moving around more and more. That doesn't necessarily mean that the weather conditions are getting worse. What it means is that they are wearing the tread blocks in between the sipes, the grooves of the tyres, or they're starting to overheat. And the thing about that is that I'm afraid it is a vicious circle. The more you lean on the tyre, the more it heats it up, the more the tyre flexes, and the more you move around, and so on and so forth. Actually, really good manoeuvre by Dylan McIverne there, because he kept control of the back end of the BMW, which did not want to be tamed at various parts of that particular manoeuvre. Off on this for a moment to the side of the circuit, the 54 Toyota which has now regained the track. Where was that? Is that turn 5 again? No.
Must have been
Coming out of the carousel.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be tough now. Really, really tough. Right the way through the field, because we are barely 20 minutes in. And there's Ford Kosh going off from 4th position. And that again, I believe, is at the carousel. The middle part of the carousel really proving to be difficult. And he's dropped 2, 3, 4 positions. Through goes Chris Miller for the Unijonic JDC Miller Motorsport car. Yeah, just the car just a twitch. Ford doing really well to keep his right foot in it and keep the momentum going across the gravel.
Wonder if he exercised those tires a bit too much in the battle he was in with McIver, and that temperature started to come up like you talked about in the tire, and now the grip that was there just a few short laps ago goes away. Ideally, you would be looking for some standing water around the track to drive through on a straightaway to bring the temperature down, but I'm not sure there's much to be found at this stage, and the difficult position that these drivers and teams find themselves in is, I'm not sure the track is dry enough for dries anyway, but even if it were, pitting now is not great from a strategic perspective.
Right, I just saw a car in the pit lane there. We'll see it come past us in just a moment or two's time.
I think that was Varun Choksi.
You may be right, yes, down at the bottom end of the field. Yeah, confirmed from Arjuna in the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on that, see if he is going to change tyres. Fastest lap of the TCR race last time around by Mason Filippi, who is in the lead of that TCR battle. Rocco Pasquarella in second by some 9 seconds actually. 2:36.2 for the best of the TCRs in the TCR category. Must be somebody who's been into the early for that. Yes, it is. It's Caio Chavez, who was in earlier on in the number 54 for Pan Am Motorsport at 2:30.7. Mason Filippi goes faster again. That would suggest to me that the track is getting better.
It is, and it's getting better faster than the tires are getting worse, right?
Oh, carbon. Ah, that was
the qualifying
surely
incident.
That was in qualifying.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
Thank goodness. They've had enough misfortune this weekend.
I was going to say that's an absolute carbon copy is what happened to Steve Vetterau yesterday. He was really good though there, because he got the car straight off the track, and he lost his best qualifying time for that, but it did mean that we got back to green very quickly.
Yeah, that was McAllister in the sister entry that
yes,
had that issue.
Excuse
but
me,
they had to go to a backup chassis. They started in the back, and actually, I had this circled as an entry that might make some progress, but they really haven't. Still down in 24th, right now doing battle with Scott Thompson. That's another team that's had to go to a new chassis, although not on the weekend. That was subsequent to CTMP. But that's the fight all the way back there for 23rd and 24th. It's definitely not where McAllister thought he would be.
In the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, you heard the voice there of Ryan Marine. I'm John Hindhaugh, and these battles are starting to heat up. Hannah Grisham puts the best GS lap in, and she's back within a second now of Robert Noecker in the battle for the lead overall. Meantime, second and third, well, they've got daggers drawn in TCR. Rocco Pasquarella with Lance Bergstein. Honda versus Hyundai. Hyundai leads and is well up road. What a gap that is, by the way. Mason Filippi basically let off the leash, and he's put on the afterburners. Further back through the field, Alan Patton and Paul Holton having a bit of a scrap. Paul Holton in fourth, Alan Patton in fifth, and then right behind them is Robert McGuinness for Random Vandals Racing. Aston, BMW and Ford Mustang all having a scrap. I should have said Ford Mustang, Aston and BMW. That's the way that they are. And for a moment, the BMW just dropped away there. Going down to turn number 5, that's Robert McGuinness in the white and green car. The third of those cars going through turn 5 right now. you've got to say that nobody is saving anything at this point. I wondered if we were going to see some people trying to save some fuel, save some tyres. I don't see that at the moment. This is flat out, no nonsense, head down, mindless boogie. They are going for it.
To my eye, and that's the way it looks as well. Patton takes a lunge in this continued scrap with Holton trying to get to the inside down in turn 8. He's able to get alongside and try to keep it there, make that outside line work through the carousel, and I think he has taken that position back from Holton. They've swapped that around a couple of times. Now McGuinness, he wants a piece of the action.
Yeah, he absolutely does. Coming out, gets a great exit from the carousel. Has the overlap but thinks better of it. My co-commentator literally taking a step back from the screen there, sliding his chair away here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, and a deep breath was held for a moment by Ryan Marine. Discretion undoubtedly the better part of valor there from Robert McGuinness.
He's a brave boy. I've seen that on display in his open wheel career. He made it as far as Indy Lights, now Indy Next, and has done a nice job transitioning to sports cars. And I don't know, for a fleeting moment, I thought he might give it a try to go up along the inside and make it too wide into the kink. And I think we can all be thankful he thought better of it.
First and second are together through turn number 1. 2 dark blue cars, big wide exit of the corner from Robert Noack, and Hannah Grisham is within half a second now, courtesy of another fastest lap of the race, 2:28.2. It looks like that Aston Martin and Hannah Grisham have looked after their tyres a little bit more here. Hannah's coming back. She goes to the right-hand side of the road. It's a shorter distance, but she's looking for some damp patches as she runs down through turn 4 towards turn 5. Remember, she had that lurid slide here about 4 or 5 laps ago, which cost her the lead. She did not panic. I'm really impressed with this drive from Hannah Grisham. Lost the lead, having gained pole position, had the slide, has not panicked, looked after the car and the tyres, and now the battle is back on for the point.
Oh, this has been awesome from Hannah to watch her settle in, dig deep, get back in a rhythm, and find pace that, frankly, nobody else has been able to find in these conditions. Back-to-back fastest race laps. That last one was half a second quicker than what Noaker ran on the previous lap, but Roberts now stepping his game up too. He just did his best first sector, and keep an eye on the car in third. Dylan McIver just did the overall best first sector, so there is time to be found on this rapidly drying racetrack.
More turn 5 action, and it's resulted in another place change, and that was for second position in TCR. Lance Bergstein, fastest lap of the TCR race, but Rockwell helped them out there down at turn 5, just drifting a wee bit wide in the Honda Civic. All the TCRs, by the way, 2-litre inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engines, all front-wheel drive cars, all 4 or 5 doors, either 4-door or a 5-door hatchback. And Rockwell, I think, is in a bit of trouble grip-wise here. He was struggling there at the exit of turn 3 off the circuit. Chris Miller in the Unitronic Porsche 718. The very last 718 GT4 car was racing at the Nürburgring earlier on today with Timo Bernhard and Jörg Bergmeister at the wheel. The GT4 from next year will be a 911 based on the Porsche Cup car, slightly down-tuned from that. I won't tell you what happened in the NLS, the 6-hour race there earlier on. It was in blazing sunshine, contrast to what we had here. But a nice touch from Porsche. Got 2 of their former young drivers together. I met them both here at Road America and went for dinner with them down in Kola when they were first young drivers together. Sasha Masson was in that group. Pat Long was in that group. Romain Dumas was even in that group. Amazing stuff. That car's going to the museum, by the way, after having some race provenance. Harter Racing Team in second at the moment, having had 3 straight GS pole, 2 for Hannah Grisham, 1 for Hannah Greenmeyer. We'll watch the battle at the front of the field. Time to take another BDO pit lane report. Here's Arjuna.
It's not been an easy year for Random Vandals racing for Rob McGuinness and for Nikki Hayes, but seems to be some momentum on their side off, some pace at CTMP. Nikki, how's things been going here this weekend at Road America?
Yeah, so this weekend kind of switched things around. Now Rob's starting the race. He's killing it so far. I think we're 6th, you know, fighting for the top 5. So, you know, I think if we can hang on, see what the weather does, we're on for a good result today.
We talk about the weather, but you and I were just talking about strategy. Is Rob doing any fuel saving right now, or is he pushing?
For now, I think we're just pushing because we're just seeing if a yellow is going to come, and we're trying to get the track position. Impressively, it's been no yellows so far, so we'll see what happens.
We're feeling a little less rain in the air. Is that what Rob's reporting?
Yeah, exactly. You can see the pace is starting to drop, so we'll see. If it keeps raining like this or if it kind of gets heavier, that's what the million-dollar question is. So.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
BDO pit lane reporter Arjuna Kangarpati, our eyes and ears down what is one of the longer pit lane in terms of transition times as well as in yardage in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. So we're down to an hour and a half, another 10 minutes before drive time elapsed, minimum drive time has elapsed. The battle for the lead continues, and Hannah Grisham is right on the tailpipes of Robert Noecker. Another fastest lap by the Aston driver. Goes to the left-hand side, the outside into turn 1. She gets it squirrely and moving around under braking again. It's the old over and under, off the track for the 13 again. Just about holding on to that curve, but Hannah's down the inside into turn number 3. Can she brake late enough to get down the MR cars inside? Cannot. But this is glorious stuff at the front of the field. I think we can say that neither of these drivers have got optimum performance from their cars, and that's no disrespect to the cars, the tyres, or the drivers. This is just motor racing when conditions aren't exactly one thing or another.
This has been a fantastic duel between the two. At various times, the Mustang has looked stronger. Right now, though, the Aston definitely has the pace. 4 straight laps, she has reset the fastest lap of the race. First driver to dip down into the 2:27. She just lost that fastest lap of the race, though, to Dylan McIvern, who sits in 3rd, 12 seconds behind the battle for the lead. And it looks like they do have some TCR traffic that they're running down, and that could add a wrinkle to this.
Yeah, first car they are, and where are they? Actually, the first car they're going to come across is the back of the GS field, aren't they? That's Ted Giovannis' number 64, I think, that they're gaining on at the moment.
Just got around Riley Pegram, and now it is Ted, the next car up the road.
Yeah, and then there's a bit of a gap before we hit another one of the TCR cars. I'm watching this very carefully. For the moment, Hannah has just dropped away from the back, and from being a 1/10 of a second away, it's round about a second. But I like this. There's no sense in taking mad risks at this stage. Hannah could have gone down the inside on the way in to Canada Corner, and Ted Giovannis did make way, but she made sure that that car wasn't going to cut back to the right-hand side. But clearly, absolutely clearly to me, that Aston, in the hands of Hannah Grisham, has got pace in this phase of the race.
Well, she's been a fun story to watch develop here with her burgeoning career. Same with her co-driver, Hannah Greenmeyer. There was a female driver shootout that Heart of Racing did several years ago. I think the intention was just to hire one driver, but both of the Hannahs were so impressive they ended up bringing them both on. The pair have raced as teammates, first in SRO America GT4, now the last this year in Pinewood Challenge quite a bit. They've had success, they've had class wins in the past.
I was just wondering whether McGuinness was going to go into the pits there, but he didn't. He stayed out. Sorry, finish your thought.
Spooked me there. Anyway, but it's been amazing to watch the nurturing environment of Heart of Racing and what they've been able to get out of these two young drivers. Gave them this chance at racing in the big leagues, and now this year that investment is really paying off.
Hello to Jam, heading home from the beach, listening to the IMSA coverage all the way home. Best co-pilot anyone could ask for. Hope you were driving well within the speed limit. Hi to Daniel Roberts, tuned in for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Always brings the most amazing action before the main course tomorrow. Hello to Nicole on Racing at Trackside. Nicole, one of the big supporters of IMSA Racing, trying to get to every single IMSA race event this year. very noble cause if you can do that. So meantime, in TCR, Mason Filippi leads by 13 seconds. I mean, talk about lightning afterburners, and it's a Hyundai Elantra 1, 2, 3 now, with the 33, the 18, and the 76 all ahead of Rocco Pasquarella. He's 5 seconds ahead of Sam Baker, and then Stephen Clements. I suspect those front-wheel drive cars are using up the front tyres a lot, and the battle between Robert McGuinness and Paul Holton has gone the way of McGuinness.
Yeah, how about Robert, able to find his way through in the cut and thrust of battle. You know, he was an expert fencer as a young man before he turned his attention to motorsport. I think it was the Sabre, and there was one other, a foil maybe?
A foil, yes.
I have it, I'll have to dig this up. But anyway, he was an excellent fencer, so anytime I can work a little fencing reference into a Robert McGuinness call, it makes me happy.
Yeah, well, he's got through now. He doesn't have to be on guard so much from what's behind him.
I like what you did there.
Yeah. Down to Canada corner. Foil, épée, sabre. It's such a technical sport, fencing. It's one of the things I love to watch when we get to the Olympic Games. Technology has made it very interesting as well, and taken a lot of the subjectivity out of it. Car moving very slowly is one of the TCRs. It's coming into the pit lane, and it was Don Young, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Side by side again. Well, it was, I'm afraid, not a decisive move then by Rob McGuinness, who has just been passed again as a full course yellow comes out. Just as that pass was made, Robert Noaker is on the back straight. He's fine. He's got a clear track ahead of him. Can't tell you why we've gone full course yellow. We have got 36 minutes on the clock. This could work out very nicely indeed for everyone. Arjuna Kankapani, already there was some movement down on the pit lane, with some teams clearly thinking about a tyre change come the 40 minutes. Arjuna?
The drivers are starting to get onto the pit wall with their helmets as well, the surefire sign that those pit stops were incoming. But John, there's lots of slick tires and scrub slick tires, which makes sense in these still damp and slightly cool conditions. Those scrub tires will fire off a little bit quicker once we get this race restarted. But looking forward to the battle of the pit crew, which will now help settle the track position debate.
It is Circle H Racing that has gone off the circuit, and that again is the carousel, entrance to the carousel.
It's a tricky place, tricky corner, even in good conditions, and as we're learning in the wet, or whatever you would call this, damp, it's been incredibly treacherous for everybody here. So David Hampton, the most recent one that has found trouble there, and it looks like the car is buried in the gravel trap. This will cost him at least a lap, unfortunately. Tough one to overcome.
Yeah, the happy smiley face on the side, I'm afraid, not reflecting the view of the driver at the moment. The EMR safety crew, as ever, on the scene very, very quickly. Doesn't appear to be too much damage on the right-hand side, but who knows what the left-hand side holds. Pits are not open this time by maybe one more lap. If you're new to this style of racing, everybody slows down. We get the safety car onto the circuit, and once, because there's a couple of TCR cars that are in there actually, so we're going to have to spring those guys so that they don't lose a lap. Noticeably, Dr. William Talley for Victor Gonzalez Racing. Riley Pegram has been passed by the leader, and Don Yount as well, who's just done his pit stop actually. They should all get a wave by to get back onto the lead lap for TCR. What I haven't seen is whether any of the substantive field of GS cars have gone a lap down, or did Ted Giovannis did, yes.
And then a couple of others that had problems early. Remember the Pan Am car, Kyle Chavez and Rude Choxy, but that car's actually still shown as either in the pits or possibly in the garage.
That went behind the wall.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier on. Varachowski in the number 12 Toyota. So we'll get all the cars up behind the safety car, and then we'll sort out those that need to get a lap back. The pass around is being prepared for at the moment. Now, race control does not just read out a whole set of numbers. They will tell the field to stay to one side of the track or the other, and then anyone who's eligible for a pass around moves to the other. It's normally left for the main field, right for those that are eligible for a pass around. You pull out of line if you know you are eligible, and then you'll be given the clearance to do just that, which is exactly what's happened as the cars are going down towards turn 5. Giovannis pull out and go around. Not yet. The slight problem is there are one or two people who are still looking for damp, I think, on the tyres. Let me see where the leader is. There's a few cars that have broken off the back of the field as well that need to pack up just a little bit. So this might take a wee bit more. Here comes another one of the TCR cars going through.
Ted's problem is that he's not only behind the safety car, but he's behind his class leader, so he's not eligible just yet.
Correct.
What I expect
He'll
they will do, exactly, let the leaders pit, hopefully, and then he would be eligible for the final wave by at the end of this yellow sequence. But you're right, the teams aren't told, yes, you are one of the X number of cars that's eligible, so the teams have to be on top of this, and they better get it right, because the penalty is draconian. Effectively, by taking a pass around, you're getting a lap, so the penalty is the lap that you gained erroneously and another one on top of it. So really a big penalty if you get this wrong.
As it stands now, the leader of the race in Grand Sport leads the championship on 1,960 points. 190 points back is the pair in the third place car, the Turner Motorsport BMW. Another 20 points back. The 2017 Autotechnica team, they're running down in 13th at the moment. Austin Kreitz and Stephen McAleer. I suggest they won't be there at the end. And then another 20 points further back, the Ibiza Farm pair in the 40, Moise Aretsky. His car, where are they? They're still down in 16th position. Now, let's go down to Arjuna Kangaparty in the pit lane. Strategy, 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 Arjuna. This is a tough place to pass. We've heard about people talking about a track position. Time fuel fill here to the tyre change?
I think that's what the question's going to be, John. This likely guarantees a two-stop for both classes, with, I see TCR teams ready to fill up and throw some slick tires on their cars as well. We saw this strategy cycle play out somewhat last time out at CTMP, and in particular, the number 33 Brian Herder Autosport crew stood out to me, but I can see the GS cars beginning to crest the hill, John, and rolling down pit lane. So let's see who wins this battle. Ford Koch amongst the first to enter his box. He's all the way down by pit entry, while Nate Cicero and the McCumbee McAleer crew wait a little bit closer towards the pit exit. Nice into the marks for the Ford team, and it's a set of sticker tires that they've elected to throw onto that car as Robert Noaker clambers out and helps Nate Cicero jump into the car. Looks like a good pit stop as well, developing for the heart of Hannah's as Hannah Grisham and Hannah Greenmeyer swap the keys to the car. Scrub tires going on to the heart of racing crew as the driver change almost finished, now just waiting for the fuel and tires to be done as the pole sitter skips over the wall with the job having been done. I think McCumbee McAleer here are going to hold on to track position if they elect to not fulfill the car. Already Turner's 95 has fired off and away as Luca Mars tries to get to the lead of the race, but it is the Ford that's going to go first. A very close blend. Nate Cicero gets it.
Brilliant stuff by Arjuna Kangaparty in the description, and also by the teams in the pit lane. You heard the air guns, 5 studs on each one of the 4 racing wheels to change all 4 Michelin tyres, and just about everybody I could see from here was going on to dry tyres. One car that hasn't moved is the Ford number 59. They've got trouble at the left front.
Yeah, that's Bob McKaylee and Billy Johnson, I suspect, would be in that car now. And that's taken them a little bit longer to deal with. We've got a replay a moment ago of something coming out from the wheel well.
Almost as if Bob had wheeled something broken, because he then went off the road on the left-hand side, wheeled to the right and then to the left. Very odd.
Really curious. I did want to update one thing leaving the pits. Arjuna was quite right that the McCumbee McAloon guys won the race off of pit lane, but how about Stephen Cameron Racing? To my eye, they were the second ones out there, and they were not in that conversation prior to that. Greg Leafouche has been really quick this weekend. He's in the car now, and the Turner guys, unsurprisingly, also gained quite a bit of track position. They were up, or at least they were able to hold on to track position in third. I think it was Heart of Racing that might have lost a position or 2.
Very, very odd. That's the core motorsport number 59 car. We think with Billy Johnson on board. It looked like it was going behind the wall, and it didn't go behind the wall. I think it's come out onto the track. Yes, it has. They're going behind the wall further down the pit lane, I am being told. Looks like they might have been trying to go behind the wall in the wrong place. It's that car. Now, stand by, Arjuna, because next up, you should be getting all of the TCRs are the ones that want to get a lap back. So, leading them in, Mason Filippi on his way to you.
And again, that pit stop at CTMP is what put the number 33 crew and Mason Filippi and Bryson Norris into the lead of the race. And our championship leaders get ready to go. Brian Hood Autosport run 1 through 4, and we talked to Mason Filippi in our pre-show, and he said they are just firing on all cylinders in 2026. Will that continue as they hit their marks? Another car to keep an eye on here in my mind, Victor Gonzalez Racing. Has not been an easy season, but Tyler Gonzalez has a chance to jump into that car and put some pressure on the rest of the competition. Of course, we are going to see 4 tires being changed on these TCR cars, because we'll see the wet tires at the rears also change. Not something we always see in these TCR cars, which put their power and steer the car through the front. It means it might be a bit slower, actually, than I had initially anticipated. And the driver change already done for the Hyundai Hope on Wheels crew as the fuel continues to get loaded in, and the right side tires now get replaced. MMG's Honda as well. That's a very quick fuel stop for them. They're going to take the car off the air jacks, although I think they're taking a look at the right rear suspension. Finally off of the air jacks, but not before the number 5 crew. The KMW TMR Honda fires off first, and it's going to beat the number 33 out of pit lane.
Brilliant stop by the number 5 crew. They've nicked the lead there, and they did. They kept the fuel hose in just a little bit longer than the tyre change and the driver change took, but not very much longer. So maybe they have opted for a little less VP racing fuel, Ryan, but that was speedy work indeed for the Honda crew.
Maybe they did. If I'm in one of these TCR pit boxes, though, I'm thinking, let's pack this thing to the brim. One more yellow. We might be able to make it home from here, especially if it's a longer yellow. And as we heard from LP Montour in our countdown to green, as long as it stays damp-ish, if we're not running at full tilt, and look, it should dry out, and maybe this goes away here pretty soon, but the fuel economy should be a little better. So that's something to watch for sure.
At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch, don't forget we are looking for our Michelin moment of the race, one in GS and one in TCR. Is that little strategic tweak from the 5 Honda crew? It's got to be in the conversation so far. It's been a couple of good, really good overtakes. I'm going to say Hannah Grisham's save down into turn 5. It lost her the lead, but it's kept her in the race so far.
Oh, that was fantastic stuff. And then, yes, you kept her in the racing. She kept it out of the wall. and it took her maybe a lap or so, but from that point on, once she found that rhythm, she had a rabbit to chase, and she started setting fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. It was 4 or 5 laps in a row where she was able to do that. So that is the highlight to me in the opening nearly 50 minutes.
So everyone now will cycle back through, and that will allow us to reset the field. All the TCR cars on their outlap, they were scored ahead of all of the GX cars, of course, because they'd made their pit stop the lap before.
I have some bad news for the winners. Last time out in GS, the 12 car from Rafa Racing has officially been retired. We knew that car had gone behind the wall. I'm not sure that we know exactly why, but in any event, they will take no further part in today's race.
They have not had the best day, have they, today? Got pinged for an infringement at the start of the race when they jumped out of line a little bit too early, and then after they served that penalty, they came bang in pretty quickly, but for whatever reason they didn't manage to get back out again. And as Ryan says, we'll try and get a little bit of more news on that for you from our journey down in the pit lane. Let's go down to the pit lane now. It's been a cracking scrap at the beginning of the race at the front of the TCR field, and Rocco Pasquarella in the number 5 Honda was right in the mix.
And John, I can also give a quick update on that number 12. They'd been into the pit lane several times, filled it back up with fluid, but clearly something wrong with the engine of that car. But Rocco, your engine clearly firing on all cylinders, because great battle for the lead. And I heard Tim Lewis talking with our colleagues at NBC. He said you were full of confidence, no fear with these rainy conditions.
Yeah, I think this was my first time in the rain. I may have gotten a few laps at Mid-Ohio, but like true first push laps in the rain, and they're pretty fun. TCR cars are fun in the rain. Definitely struggled just kind of finding the groove of it early on and lost the gap to the lead, but yeah, just kind of saving was the goal of my stint, and we did just that. I think we won the race off pit road. So Tim's in a good spot. I know he has a lot of experience in the rain, so I think we're on dry tires now and see what happens for the rest of the year.
Did you learn anything from being out there?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, I had a solid amount of time in the car to get used to the rain, so if it rains another race this year, I'll be ready to go, but I'm still a fan of dry races as of now until maybe we get a win.
Thanks, Rocco.
Yeah, thank you.
Question for me is, did they fully fill that car? I think they have to. Here, the rest of the cars that didn't take the first opportunity to pit, why would they do that? Basically, so they get back on the lead lap of their class, right?
Yeah, they're taking the opportunity to get the final wave around done, and then you have the chance to come in and do your service at the end of this yellow sequence. So they're doing that. As for Pasquarella and the KMW Motorsports team, their stop was 5 seconds faster than the 2 cars directly behind them from Brian Herta Autosport. And it could be, maybe, Rocco saved a bunch of fuel in that first stint and they didn't need to put as much in. Or it could be that they did a time fill to get some track position, and now they're at a fuel deficit to the rest of the class. That's something that hopefully we can find out. If the team wants to keep that close to the vest, I'd understand it. Another team that, just looking at the pit stop times, seemingly did a short fill was the Stephen Cameron team, because they did their stop in this is pit in to pit out, including the service, in 1 minute and 17 seconds. That was between 5 and 7 seconds faster than everyone else.
Green flag is in the air, and Nate Cicero is in the lead of the motor race on a dry track on the line now. Amazing turnaround in the conditions since earlier this morning here at Road America. Oh, somebody got caught in the pit lane, so that didn't work. That was a couple of people trying to get a lap back, and they get caught at the red light at the end of the pit lane. They didn't hustle around quick enough to get into the pit lane. So that's very bad news for a couple of GS cars. One of them was one of the Aston Martins. In fact, it was the Aston Martin that went off, wasn't it, down at the carousel, so they've lost another lap there when they were trying to get one back. So Cicero leads. It was Luca Mars in second, but I think Gregory Leofouge has gone through. Yes, he has, for Stephen Cameron. So 2 Fords, the blue oval leads a BMW in third position now. It looked like Luca Mars just couldn't get the car turned in through turn number 3. Massive dive down the inside for Dan Arrow. Winward Racing, they've come up from nowhere as well, well inside the top 6 now. And Arrow at turn 7 is into 5th position as he's just dealt with Matt Plum in the Team TGM Ford Mustang, the white, orange and blue car.
That is interesting. They did maybe short Phil a little. They were slightly faster than those around them, but not by a lot. That was a lunge to the inside there, and it put Plum in a difficult spot because there is a dry line. But when you get off of that dry line, it's still pretty damp, and these are slick tires that aren't up to temperature yet. He did a great job to hang on.
Change in lead. I think Nate Cicero's dropped back, not sure why, but I think it's Gregory Leofouge that leads. It is indeed by a margin. Well, whilst we were catching up with what was going on behind, there's been a change in the lead, and Nate Cicero now under pressure. There's a little tap on the back of the Turner Motorsport car going into Canada corner as well. That's Hannah Greenmeyer now in the heart of racing Aston Martin, who's right in side by side with Dan Arrow, who comes through, makes up another position. This is awesome stuff on the restart. Still getting the slick Michelin tyres up to temperature and pressure. Don't tell Dan Arrow that. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, or he doesn't care what he doesn't know.
Just fantastic commitment from him to really fling it in a couple of places, and that's helped him gain a ton of positions here early on. Michael Cooper on a bit of a charge as well. He restarted back in the 19th position. He's up 4 spots here. We're just going to look on board his McLaren Artura, fighting with Kenny Murillo now for position down into turn 1.
James Vance in the pit lane. That's a penalty for people over the wall before they came in. Baker Racing's TCR car takes an extra run down through the pit lane. Also making up ground, Michael Cooper, as you mentioned, Ibiza Farm Motorsport. They didn't get the best of the pit stop cycle. We'd hoped for better for Moise Uretsky, started in 6th position. Mid-teens now for Michael Cooper to make up some ground before the end of the race. So it was Leofouge across the line with the fastest lap of the race for Stephen Cameron's Ford Mustang. The number 19 car leading by 1.2 seconds when they crossed the stripe from Nate Cicero, Luca Mars, Dan Arrow, Matt Plum, Hannah Greenmeyer, Trenton Estep, Cameron Shields, Jackson Bell and Stephen McAlee. That's Ford, BMW, AMG, Ford, Aston, BMW, Toyota and BMW in the top 10. Nice spread of manufacturers.
It is, and Ford is coming to the fore here as the track starts to dry out. They were very quick in the opening practice session. That was the hottest the track has been at any point in the weekend so far. And now, as the track dries out, combination of strategy and pace has a couple of Mustangs leading the way. I'm curious to see as the track dries, though, maybe we start to see some of that raw pace out of the Super Camp once again. They've had some attrition. Some of their quick cars have dropped out or are at least buried down the order at this stage, but keep an eye on Jackson Bell down in 8th right now.
It was interesting, wasn't it? We were looking at one of the practice sessions where the top 6 were all front-engined V8s. And I wonder if the track's coming back to the Fords, the BMWs, the Mercedes, and the Astons. Right at the moment, that number 13 car that had gone so well for Macumbi Macalia Racing is fighting a bit of a rearguard action after losing the lead. And now Luca Mars for Turner Motorsport is right there as they crest the brow. Lead across the line now. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th all more together, and 10th go through as quickly as that. And in 10th, that was Mike Skeen, who's just gone up a position in the number 60 Core Motorsports in the Stars and Stripes car. Right now, 1930 for Noega and Cicero. Mars and McAvern right up behind them in the battle for the championship lead. 160 ties them in 2nd, with Stephen McAleer and Austin Kreins, who is still a little bit further down the field in 11th position. Now, who was that coming into the pit lane? Let's go down to Arjuna Kankapati for the BDO pit lane report.
It's the CSM Porsche, which still had their wet tires on, John, so it's only a splash of fuel that they're going to throw into that car, but I wonder if they took a gamble potentially, left some wet tires on, only to find out that it was not the right condition. In fact, because they only needed a splash of fuel, this is a tire limited stop as all 5 lug nuts on the right side now get to work. The right rear is going to be finished first, I think, and then the right front will send the car off back onto track.
There is an hour remaining. I don't know why they didn't change the tyres before, but what they've done there, I think, is they're saying we're going to the end from here.
I think they'll try.
Yeah.
Whether or not they can. An hour is tough in a GS car, and this is, as we chronicled all weekend long, not a track that you really want to gamble on fuel because, first of all, it's a super long lap. Second of all, the final third of the lap is uphill, and the last bit of that is extremely uphill. That run into the pit lane, and actually the beginning of the pits itself is a pretty significant incline. But look, they're trying to gamble here, and maybe they were painted into a corner slightly by the tire situation. Might as well do something different now.
I wonder if they even put them wrong. With Arjuna can hear me when I say this. You can talk to me on talkback or indeed in text, Arjuna. Had they put a new set of wets on that car, or were they worn wets that came off from the start of the race? That's the question I think that we need to know. I can't imagine they'd have put another set of wets on. Meantime, in front of us, Gregory Leafouge brings the fastest lap of the race, brings it down to 2:16.6, and Arjuna can answer that question in just a second as there's contact between Matt Plum and Hannah Greenmay going into the first corner, and Hannah gets the worst of that, loses one, may lose 2 or 3 positions. Here comes the number 37 of Cameron Shields, the Carbon BMW, and the 66 Trenton Estep, the Car Blanche, which is Car Noir this weekend, actually. The Car Noir and Rouge, actually, that car. And Hannah on the wrong end of that one. She will not be happy. She had the outside line. Did the TGM car come over just a little bit to the left? Ooh, that's a tough one for race control. Arjuna, CSM, what's the thinking?
Gordon Scully letting me know that he had given some feedback that it might be worth a gamble to put some new wet tires on, and that's exactly what they did. However, by the time Morgan Burkhardt got back to green flag racing, he could tell the tires weren't right for the conditions, and so into pit lane for some slick tires.
Okay. I suppose if you do the same as everybody else, you know, you're going to get the same result.
That's right, and this is a team that has shown a willingness to do something off-piste, to take a different strategic approach in the past. And they're not in the championship hunt, so why not? Especially here, John, because it is such a long lap. They stayed on the lead lap,
Correct.
even with that pit stop. And if they catch a yellow, depending on if they think they can go the rest of the way, if the others don't think they can go the rest of the way, maybe they pit, then you cycle forward. Okay, it's a punt for sure, but we'll see. Sometimes punting's the right strategy.
Yeah. More like an onside kick.
Maybe so.
I'm not sure they've recovered it at the moment, but we'll see. It plays out a little longer than the onside kick play in football. Turn 5 again has become an area to watch. So there was a little bit of side-by-side action there a moment or two ago that involved Nate Cicero and Luca Mars, and I think Luke has gone through there into second place.
It looks that way to me, and that is big. Yep. You were chronicling the championship situation a little while ago, but this is now Mars getting past the championship leader, and he's brought some help with him. Dan Arrow also has been able to clear Cicero, so championship leader dropping a couple of spots, and Mars in a position potentially to capitalize on that. I would say Arrow is not in the hunt because he's not done every round, but his co-driver Bryce Ward is in the fight. I think
yes.
He came into the weekend 5th in points, so they're both in a position to maybe gain some ground.
Bob McKaylee and Billy Johnson, the Core Motorsport Freedom Finance car, which went behind the wall earlier, officially now, I'm sad to say, is a retirement. Down the inside for Trenton Estep in the black and red, number 66, the Car Blanche car, the Aston Martin brand new team, little bit of cloak and dagger, little bit of secrecy about that team, which we're leaning into that. We absolutely are. The corporation behind it has the same 3 initials as an airport up in Canada. We're trying to track some of that down. John de Geese has been looking to see if he can find out anything, and apparently that corporation owns a little stake in Aston Martin Formula One racing as well, but we don't know the people behind it because they're incorporated in Delaware, and you can't easily get to that. So we're leading into that. It is an Aston Martin, so you know there should be a little bit of secrecy. 007 and all that. Somebody going off at turn number 8. I hate saying somebody going off. Was that an Aston Martin as well?
It was. It's a different one. I think that's the Medusa car.
Yeah, you're right.
It is. That was able to rejoin, but right at the front of this TCR battle, and the top 4 are all nose to tail. Make that the top 6 headed down through the kink. Lewis has the lead, but Morris is right there on the scene, and he's got company.
Oh, has he ever. Behind Bryson Morris is his Brian Herder Autosport Hyundai teammates of Denny DuPont and Carl Whitmer in the Canada corner there. Behind them, Harry Gottsacker, Carl Whitmer in the Honda, then the other Brian Herder Hyundai, then another Brian Herder Hyundai, Mark Wilkins. Celso Neto is about 5.8 seconds further back in the Go Racing Audi. Both of the Baker Audis have dropped away a little bit as well. The 56 car now, the better place of those two. Kenny Reedman behind the wheel of that car, and we're not seeing the Cupras at the sharp end of the field either. Tyler Gonzalez in the number 99 is all the way down in 10th position.
The question I still have lingering, remember there were the brake issues early on for LP Montour, and I wonder if they feel like they've gotten to the bottom of that, or is that something Carl Whitmer is going to have to deal with here in his stint as well. Still pretty well placed, all things considered, in the 4th position, and he's got his eyes fixed on the battle for the podium positions.
54.5 minutes to go. This TCR battle. Straight fighting from the street-ish cars. As I said, they never started life as a 4 or a 5-door shopping hatchback. They are purpose-built by the racing divisions of each of the manufacturers. My goodness me. They turn in terms of smiles per whatever your financial unit is, they turn in a very high quotient. They are almost as quick as the GT4 cars, and in fact on some circuits are as quick. They like the tight, twisty circuits. Every single surface of those cars is tuned for aerodynamic efficiency. They produce quite a lot of downforce, over 300 horsepower driving the front wheels. Great in inclement competition, in inclement conditions, as we mentioned. I'll tell you who's right on the back of this, of course, is Carl Whitmer for MMG. After what I'm sure LP Montour wasn't happy with that first stint, but that car right back in the mix here in 4th position.
I hope that means that those braking issues that LP was dealing with have been dealt with. I have it on good authority. Arjuna is making his way that way to
almost certainly, yes.
Find out for us, but I hope that that's all sorted, because that car was really, really quick when everything was working right en route to pole position yesterday.
Dan Arrow pressuring the yellow and blue Turner Motorsport number 95 BMW under the Sargento bridge now, heading down towards turn number 5. Dan Arrow in the dark blue and black Winward Racing Mercedes AMG. Dan goes to the right hand side, cuts back to the left, starting by Bryce Ward, father of Russell Ward. They're splitting their time between the US and Europe, with Winward's activities out in the DTM and VLN series as well. Let's find out about the pole sitting car. LP Montour was fairly confident when we talked to him in our countdown to green. The start, I don't think, went the way that he would have liked, Arjuna, but they're back in with a shout now. 4th position after the pit stop round.
Off the road a couple of times for LP Montour, but nothing major. LP, what was happening in the first stint of the race?
Yeah, that was a tough one, to be honest. Pretty good on dry. It was our first race in the rain with this car. Never really tried any the rain setup, so we had way too much front brake bias. So as soon as I was hitting the brakes, slow or hard, full ABS, so couldn't make the car turn. It took a couple laps to make adjustment where I was comfortable with the car. I was already down to P7, so the goal was just to keep the car clean and bring it to Carl.
And now Carl's back in. I'm guessing the balance is probably a lot better now that the track started to dry out. Are we still expecting one more pit stop to get you to the end?
Yeah, if it stays green all the way, yes, we have to do another pit stop. We made 3rd position in the pits. Hats off to these guys that I mentioned that did a stellar pit stop.
Thanks, Albie.
Thank you, man.
And drama for Gregory Leafouge. Off the road at the side of the circuit. It's turn number 12, so just at Canada corner, and straight into the pit lane for the 2nd place car. They're going to fuel that car to the end, expecting a yellow flag and a full course caution. Who's gone through? Dan Arrow's gone through. Nate Cicero's gone through, but everybody else is following in. Matt Plum's gone through. Mike Skeen, Guillaume Salash. They must come next time around. If this goes yellow now, they've been caught on the wrong side of the safety car. It'll be costly.
That's what you want to avoid, for sure. Really quick thinking for the Turner team to dive into the pit lane when they did. And oh, they're having some problems here. They're shifting that car back and forth. Maybe Arjuna can tell us more.
Arjuna is down there.
It didn't go up on the air jacks, John, and they had elected to change tires. While I see the Heart of Hanners firing off directly behind the Alan Patton and Treston Estep Car Blanche car just in front as well of the Autotechnic BMW. This is disaster for the 95, still stat in the pit lane.
And the full course yellow's come out. The full course yellow has come out. So those top 5 cars have not come into the pit lane. Kenny Murillo stayed out as well, looking for the track position. So they'll stay out now. They will not pit. You've got to gamble and basically try and get the hammer down and build up some kind of a gap. We're going to have basically the top 6, I think, that have not stopped. Oh my goodness me, that could be a massive call to stay out. Oh my goodness. In TCR, only 1 car came into the pit lane, and Arjuna's just told me that it was the Brian Herder Autosport. That's not narrowing it down, but I'm building the suspense. It was a Hyundai. That's not narrowing it down. It was the Harry Gottsager and Lance Bergstein car that came in, the number 18.
I think that Kenny Riedman might have also pitted in the 56, according to timing and scoring. That's the Baker Racing car.
Correct.
And Arjuna now confirms he saw that one too. There was a lot going on there, Arjuna, no worries. But that's what we've got our timing screens for. So they then will be definitely good to the finish on fuel. We kind of thought that TCR would more or less be with another yellow anyway. So that's an interesting strategy call on their side of things. I'm really curious how this plays out in GS. I haven't thought this all the way through, but for those that stayed out, maybe have you made your bed and now you need to sleep in it, because pitting under this yellow effectively concedes the race. You would drop all the way back to the back. Everyone who pitted prior to this yellow coming out, they're good to go to the end, no questions asked. So
if you come in now, you come out in 22nd position.
Yeah, so you... do you think you might as well just gamble and hope?
Yeah.
Easier to do if you're not in the championship hunt, but for Windward, for instance, who are having to think about points, at least if you pit now, you have a chance to make your way forward again. If you gamble and you don't come up with the number you're looking for, then you could really have a disastrous day, and that could effectively end Bryce Ward's championship hopes. So really an interesting complexion point in not just the race, but potentially the entire season.
How long is the yellow flag? And, you know, can that help them in that case? They've been out 11 laps, so they are 11 laps the wrong way on fuel. Tyres, let's not worry about that so much. Let's go down to Arjuna for a BDO pit lane report. He can see what's happening and perhaps work out some of the thinking that's going on the lane.
Well, I'm seeing lots of activity, John, not just from the GS cars that stayed out during this initial cycle. The number 13 crew in particular is one that I'm stood right next to, but TCR activity as well. MMG standing up on the pit wall. I think that what you guys have been talking about with risking it, and this close to the end of the season, some of these teams still thinking championship hopes. I don't know if I'd want to gamble with still such a long way to go.
Well, that is absolutely incredible. Now, of the GS cars that stopped, then we need to work out who's done that second stop. Trenton Estep, Stephen McAleer, they've been through twice. Where's the... It really should have been the Turner car, shouldn't it? That should be ahead of them. We'll wait till the TCRs have cleared through, because we'll split them through. They'll split them off again before we do the restart. We're not thinking, are we, with 45 minutes still to go, that the 6 cars that didn't pit are soft pedaling it? Well, they are. Actually, in the background, you can probably hear Nate Cicero kicking the car out of gear and letting the car roll out of gear as he was going down the hill there towards turn 8.
It is a lot to ask, though. Even if Arjuna is saying TCR teams aren't sure they can go, GS doesn't have the same fuel distance. They can't go as far on fuel as TCR to begin with, and they pitted a lap earlier under yellow, and I do think those, at least many of the top 6 that stayed out, are coming in now, John.
Yeah, this is awful for them. The only thing they can hope for, there's nothing they can hope for at this point. The TCRs haven't come in yet, so the only thing that they're hoping for is that the TCRs will slow down. Well, no, it doesn't matter, does it? Because they'll be held at the end of the pit lane, and then they'll cycle back through. So the best of them will come out in 22nd position. Arjuna Kangapati, I hear the sound of wheel guns.
And maybe with this call having to be made by these teams, it's not a surprise that they're electing to change tires as well. And for the McCumbee McAleer number 13, it's going to be a set of sticker tires for Nate Cicero. And he was quick here last year, John. Of course, put it up towards the front in qualifying, defending race winners as well. But he stalled it as it's dropped off the air jacks, and they're going to end up becoming, slotting in behind the number 57. Cicero fires it up, and off and away he finally goes.
Yeah, the reason I was struggling to work out who was at the head of the pit stopped GS cars was, of course, the Turner car had that long stop, didn't it? It sort of had to roll it backwards and forwards. So it's, and thank you to Jared up in Concords, one of our voices of reason. It is Trenton Estep, I think, and the Car Blanche Aston. The red, black and red Aston number 66, which I think is at the head of the genuine 2-stop cars.
I think that's right. Now, we said some of these cars pitted that had stayed out, 3 did not. So there are 3 that are in the rolling the dice mode here. So that's Matt Plum, Mike Skeen, Guillermo Salas.
That's what you said, though. These are cars that without championship aspirations.
Correct. So they can take a risk here, and the big picture doesn't matter to them. This is all about getting a result, and they're going to roll the dice, see what happens. And I applaud them for it. I'm really curious, though, here this next lap, what the TCR field elects to do. The couple that pitted before the yellow came out, they're hoping everybody else comes in, and then they're really golden at this point. What do the TCR field as a whole, though, think? Can they make it? There was an hour and 12 seconds still, hour and 12 minutes still in the race when they left the pit lane after that first stop. That's a long way to go, even with a couple of yellows and all the risk that we talked about with a track that is so long and has so much elevation change.
One thing I will say, what watch out for that number 57 Winward AMG. Dan Arrow will be lit. Not sure whether he didn't hear the call, they didn't get him in quick enough. They thought they could maybe do something a little bit tricky, but it's the long lap here. It can help you, it can hurt you. It didn't help them there. It did not help them there. All right, TCRs dive in almost as one. Looked like one of the go-karts stayed out, but that might have been the one that was a lap back. Did they come through? The good news is I can just look out the window. Yep, it stayed out. That was the 55 car that stayed out, which, as we said, also staying out the number 31 TCR as well.
And that's well down the order. That's Luke Rumberg. They've had some issues, but the bulk of the front runners do pit here. This obviously gets them to the finish. Let's see how long these stops are. We're hearing some are fuel only. We do see some tire changes as well.
Let's go down to Arjuna. BDO pit lane report, making or break the race. This could be a Michelin moment of the race here, Arjuna.
Very quick stop for the number 76, but then it was slip and sliding the front tires, trying to get out of the pit stall, and that's allowed the 33 to take back the lead of the race. Slot into third exiting pit lane for MMG, and I think Ryan correctly spotted that the number 5 KMW crew did elect to throw some tires onto that Honda, so a little bit of a mix there between some of the front runners. Keep an eye out for Tim Lewis to see if he's got some better grip in these closing stages.
Yeah, you'd stick a set of fronts on if you had them. I think with 40 minutes to go, you'll stick a set of fronts on if you've got them, because if you can get some heat into them, even if it starts to rain again, you've got an opportunity, maybe with extra grip, to get through. Now we're going to reorder the cars. Celso Neto, Go Racing, has gone to the lead of TCR. As I said, he stayed out there, but now he's got to let all of the GS cars go back past him. That's not great for him. Actually, he's been quite canny on this, because he's staying on the racing line, letting all the other cars go by him off the racing line. That was pretty sensible there. He'll come to the restart with what I reckon, was that a lapped car? Is that the 31 that's behind him?
Yes.
So he's got a car cover with the RV8 graphics car right behind him. So that's worked out really nicely for Celso Neto. That car, remember, the 55 car stopped on the formation lap.
That's true.
Right?
And
had to make half a lap on the formation lap.
And this isn't the car Celso usually drives. The Stallion car, the Cupra, isn't here. That car is being repaired. They couldn't get it done in time, so he slid over to join the sister team, Go Racing, for the weekend. It's his first run in this Audi, and he's going to have to master fuel saving in this car to make it the rest of the way. It'll be a tough task, because the cars behind him, barring the lapped car, they're there in the fight, and they're good to the end on fuel. So he's got one arm tied behind his back, but we'll see his quality here once the race gets resumed, which should be very soon.
And see above comment as well for Matt Plum for Team TGM, the 46 Mustang, Mike Skeen for Core, and the Mustang GT4 number 60. Guillaume Salash in the 54 Pan Am Motorsport Toyota. Trenton Estep, the first of the cars that stopped again in the Car Blanche Aston, the black Aston. As we come back to green flag racing, we'll head to the pit lane in a moment once we get this back underway. Green flag is in the air, they crest the brow of the hill. Ryan and I lean forward, there they go, 1, 2, 3, those are the cars who are fuel deficient in terms of the rest of the field. They're weaving around down the inside. Mike Skeen sticks the red nose of the Mustang out from behind the leading TGM car across the rumble strip, down underneath the tyre rack bridge towards turn number 3. The top 5, 6, 7, 8 all together. Here comes the Aston Martin, Hannah Greenmeyer on Stephen McAleer in the BMW. Hannah getting very racy indeed, and she's gone through, I think, right up behind Trenton Estep there. Estep himself is under pressure from Guillaume Chalas. Those two are swapping places at each of the timing lines. Hannah Greenmeyer with the BMW to her left-hand side as they go through turn number 5, and also back in the hunt, Michael Cooper, Ibiza Farm Motorsport. 3 wide going up to turn number 7. That's not going to work, and it's the Aston, and once again the Aston gets the worst of it. This time it's Hannah Greenmeyer. It was her teammate at turn 1 earlier in the race, and with all that still going on, give me one more second, Arjuna, as this side-by-side battle continues through turn number 8 between the Ford Mustang and everybody else. But it's a fantastic restart, and Matt Plum leads it, but in to the wall. Car barn, the number 39, Jeff Westphal. That is massive, and this will be another full course yellow. Gives us the opportunity to, number 1, take a breath. That's coming out of turn 8, number 2, and thanks for waiting, Arjuna, with your interviewee.
With Paul Holton here at the TGM camp, and I think this caution is probably music to your ears. Out there on a slightly different fuel strategy, are you going to be able to make it with this extra caution?
Maybe. I don't know what the exact number is. It depends on how long the caution is, right? So we just had a long caution. This is going to be a short caution per the regulations, so it should be a bit faster than probably we need. But we were just discussing whether there was going to be more cautions or not, and you know, whether it rains more or not, everybody's out there on slicks, and you have a single dry line. So as soon as the guys go too wide, somebody's going to be 2 wheels in the wet, and that's a recipe for more cautions. You know, like John likes to say, cautions breed cautions, and we're all going to stack back up and do it again here.
It's been a difficult year up and down, I feel, for the TGM crew, but seems like some momentum on the side of the Mustang now after a couple of decent runs of pace for you and the team. Are you finally getting a few more of those boxes checked off?
Yeah, you know, we're getting the boxes checked off. We're getting more familiar with the platform. We've cleaned up some of our operations that we kind of stumbled over a couple times, but it's an incredible group of guys, and we're able to go back, have a chat, figure out what we need to do differently, improve on the car, improve on ourselves, and get back. We're trying to get back to that championship winning form for 2027.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Good to hear that voice down in the pit lane. Just to clear up what happened there, coming out of turn number 8, Clayton Williams and the LAP Motorsport Ford Mustang performed a bit of a pit move, it's appeared to me. Got to the left-hand rear quarter of the car barn BMW and pushed the car around. It exited stage left. Damage to front steering and front suspension on the left-hand side. More importantly, Ryan, it's moved the K-rail, and whilst technically, absolutely, it's a short caution in the point that we don't open the pits and go through the pit lane cycle, it might not be short in time if track barrier repairs has to happen.
And this is exactly what Paul Holton, who we just heard from a moment ago, wanted to hear. If this extends this yellow, it eats into the race, their fuel situation becomes less dire.
Hello to Jake Parrott, rain trying to pick back up at turn 3. And I think you were hearing from other parts of the circuit as
Turn
well.
12, yeah, exactly. So there might yet be another twist in the tail here before the day is done. We still have over 30 minutes left in this race. One other thing I wanted to cover off, we've been talking so much about what the previous yellow did for all the strategy, but let's spare a moment for the Stephen Campbell Racing and Alzheimer's team that was leading the race when their car stopped on track. Brilliant strategy to get them track position.
Good point.
Greg Leofouche drove that car to the front and was pulling away. Evidently, they've been having intermittent alternator issues, and that's what caught them out. And you really feel for them, that team, and they do such great work raising money for the fight against Alzheimer's as well, week in and week out. Nothing to show for it here today, I'm afraid.
Let's go down to the pit lane. One of the cars that's probably the only TCR car of note that stayed out was the Go Racing with Stallion Audi, the bright orange number 55. Arjuna has news.
Indications are, John, that car is going to be good to make it to the end. So have to see how much fuel saving Celso Neto has done. Yes, it's a slightly different car to the Cupra that he usually drives, but we should remember it's fun. It's a very similar platform, and behind the wheel, the interior of the car is basically identical. Slightly longer wheelbase on the Audi, yes, but I don't think Celso will have had taken too much time to get back up to speed in the car that he competed in 2025.
And we've seen before, Ryan Marine, have we not, that Celso Neto is a doughty competitor. If he needs to get his elbows out, he will do it. The offset in fuel, probably not as important as the offset in tyre wear on that car as we get through, but then if it starts to rain a little bit, all bets are off.
Well, that's true. If it starts to rain in earnest and we have to make a switch back to wet weather tires, then all of the fuel situation goes away. Everything we've been talking about. I think we just saw some windshield wipers going on some of these cars here behind the safety car. So who knows? Who knows what's out in front of us?
All of the cars going past now, what I will say is all of these cars will have had their windshields treated, windscreens treated with some form of preparation. I do it on all my helmet visors, on all of the windscreens and side windows of all of our cars. And when we get an OEM car, the first thing I do is clean off the windscreen and put some preparation on. So once you get over about 45 miles an hour, if you do a really good job, actually once you 30 miles an hour, the rain starts to bead and disappear. If there's dirt on the windscreen, that makes it more difficult. So they might be just clearing some of the dirt and then hoping that it'll bead off again when they speed up. But nevertheless, to have putting your windscreen wipers on a racing car is a last resort play. You only do that if the screen is really, really bad, because you risk just making it a totally opaque mess.
Nothing worse.
You've done it, haven't you?
I'm afraid so, yeah, from time to time.
So have I.
And yeah, you're trying to stare through an obscured windscreen, trying to figure out where you're going in the heat of battle. It's no fun at all. Similarly, no fun this weekend. And really, it's not been much of a fun season for Sean McAllister and Jeff Westphal. That's the car that was in the tire barrier that brought out this yellow. This is a second DNF this season. This should be a fourth finish of 18th or worse for a team that was runner-up in the championship a year ago. And this is their backup chassis. Remember, they had the crash in qualifying that forced them to the backup, and now it's sustained a significant impact here too. And you just hate to see it. You know how good this team is. Steve Dinan and the whole Carbon with Peregrine Racing team. Sean and Jeff have been a really good pairing the last couple of years, and seemingly very little has gone right for them in 2026. And this is just another story of woe to add to the yearbook.
So we are down inside the last 30 minutes here, Ryan. The dice have been rolled by a number of the teams. Trenton Estep just losing the lead in the carte blanche Aston Martin to Matt Plum. So it's Ford Mustang, Aston Martin Vantage, Toyota Supra. Those three drivers, the 46, the 66 and the 54, at the front of the field, in behind the Corvette safety car, they are all a little bit on fuel side. By the way, Mike Skeen's already been through the pit lane once as well. That can't be right. Matt Plum only been through the pit lane once. That I did think was correct. Well, Mike Skeen then has stayed out as well in the core motorsports car. So Stephen McAleer looking good. He's got to the sharp end of things. But Trenton Estep for carte blanche, they stopped. Salas stopped as well. So this is really interesting on the restart here as to whether Matt Plum can hold off the rest of the cars behind them. There are two incidents under review. Stephen McAleer in the 27 and Hannah Greenmeyer in the 26 Aston, and also the LAP number 6 and the car bar number 39. Oh, add another one actually, because Guillaume Salash in the Pan Am Motorsport car, and also that was the number 14 car, that was the Circle H racing car. Okay, I think that was a little while ago. So those three are now under review as the class splits Our green crew, Nate Cicero and Robert Neuer, they missed the chance to pit, remember, as did the McAver. No, it was the other BMW that didn't pit, wasn't it? Absolutely extraordinary at the sharp end of the GS. What about TCR, Ryan?
Well, it's closing in. Morris and Filippi had a pretty substantial lead. It's down to 180 points as they run, then 40 further points back to Bergstein and Godsacker, who were one of the big winners in this sequence. They pitted just before the yellow came out, one of, I think, only 2 cars to do so in the TCR class. And then Carl Whitmer, LP Montour, in 4th. And at least we know that the brake issues they had early in the race, that was simply a setting, an ABS setting, or sorry, a brake bias setting that they've been able to work through. And it seems like that car is in working order now.
Arjuna, let's get down to him. The guys at the front of the field, how close are they? He's been talking to Core Motorsport. Mike Skeen in 4th position at the moment. What's the story, Arjuna?
Well, they say, John, if we restart with about 25 minutes to go, they are almost good to the end. Maybe 1 lap short or so, which really does start to open up those possibilities for them. And it rewards their bravery in doing this, committing to the alternate strategy when someone like that number 13 crew elected to come back down pit lane.
Yeah, and now those cars are down in 19th position. Those cars that decided that they couldn't make that work. Dan Arrow actually has made up a couple of positions, but he's only up to 17th for Winward Racing, and this could put a real dent in the championship aspirations of his teammate.
It could. There's still time for him to make up some ground, and that's what they'll be relying on. But I think it comes down to risk tolerance, and those that were in the championship hunt, as we said, weren't willing to tolerate the same degree of risk as the handful that have stayed out and are rolling the dice here with 46s in that mix. If 25 minutes, though, was what they were looking at, we're beyond that. There are only 24 minutes left in this race, and it's continuing to count down. So, look, it's going to be on the fringe, no doubt about it, but I think this was a risk worth taking for those cars that stayed out, knowing that they're not in it for a season-long title, so you might as well look for glory here this weekend at Road America.
Yeah, agree. Absolutely agree. Race, nothing better than a race win. Safety car lights are out.
Restart imminent.
Going to be about 23 minutes when they come to the line. Matt Plum becomes the safety car, and he's hit the pedal early, coming out of the final corner up the hill. He's giving them a long run and a long draft. Carte Blanche, Trenton Estep in the black and red Aston right on his tail at the moment, pulls out to the left-hand side. Headlights starting to show through the gloom here as there was 1 or 2 spins and spots of rain at various parts of the circuit, and there is a little more cloud cover through the first corner. It's Ford Mustang, Aston Martin, Toyota, Ford, BMW, McLaren, Toyota, Porsche, Aston Martin and BMW for your top 10. 1 or 2 spots of rain on our cameras at the bottom of turn number 3 under the Sargento Bridge. Estep once again just showing the nose of the Aston Martin Vantage from that new team, as we have got the drive-through penalty for Clayton Williams in the LAP machine. That was the incident responsibility at the exit of turn 8 with the Carbon car. That will not have been one of the more difficult decisions that race control have ever had to make.
Tough situation on the restart. Everyone was bunched up together there, and it just didn't quite go right for Clay, so he'll have to bite the bullet and serve the penalty.
Also hearing of a pit stop failure to adhere to tyre specification, and that is for the number 99 Tyler Gonzalez Cupra. Stop plus 60. That must be precious. I'm guessing, or maybe put the wrong tyres on at the wrong time. They were down. It was not their best day today anyway. It's just got a lot worse. Out of the carousel, the leading pair are sprinting away. This is a stopper and a non-stopper. The non-stopper leads from the stopper intriguing stuff. Wipers on in that part of the circuit, Ryan, down towards Canada Corner.
That's where we were getting some reports of some rain and maybe a little bit more spray than we had seen previously coming off of the back of these cars. Really tough spot for Matt Plum to be in here. He's thinking fuel, but he's also trying to keep the car in front.
Championship implications for this one. Stephen McAleer, Autotechnica Racing, has a drive-through incident responsibility.
And Mikey Taylor just had a moment. That was heading out of Canada Corner up to turn 13. He was off track, but it looks like he's back up to speed now.
That was the incident with Stephen McAleer and Hannah Greenmeyer that we chronicled for you. Stephen straight into the pit lane to get this served, just in case he can catch a break with a yellow flag. Huge gaggle of cars going past us there. And there goes the 27, crosses the line now. He's going to be right in the midst of all of the TCRs. Also coming in, Robbie Foley, and that wasn't a penalty. So the 96 Turner car coming in, maybe for a stop. Victor Gonzalez racing car coming in as well. That's for the tyre problem. My goodness me, that's thrown the whole thing up in the air. Yeah, Turner taking at least left side tyres. No, something wrong with the right left front. Mechanic there is waving someone else over and saying, no, sorry guys. I suspect that's been contact and a left front puncture, but there's something a little more serious there, Ryan.
Yeah, bad news for them. And the whole Turner team really kind of caught on the back foot slightly. They were right on their strategy. Oh, Estem, big lunge to the inside.
This is for the lead of the motor race. It is now 19.5 minutes to go. The race is in the balance through the carousel. There's an overlap onto the right rear quarter, but the Mustang hangs on, gets the power down. Aston Martin sitting in behind it. The battle of the big front engine V8s. American muscle. British style? I don't know. Where we call the Aston Vantage now, the brute in the suit. It does seem to have sharpened up a little bit since its early years, and the 4.2, the engine's gone out a little bit. It uses the V8 with AMG underpinnings, but AMG allowed Aston to work that engine quite differently for the requirements of its road-going customers. Not just on the electronic side as well. Top four are all front engine cars, Ryan, as they crest the hill to come past us. There'll be 18.75 minutes to go now as they go across the line.
Well, you asked me earlier in the weekend in practice if that was a trend worth watching. I think we can say definitively now it is. Here's the other trend though. Can Matt Plum continue to find the fuel number that he's looking for and match it with the pace he needs to hold off Estep, who works the crossover to perfection, gets alongside.
Absolutely textbook. Now, can he get it stopped? No, he can't. He's gone a little bit deep, and there was contact there. Right front of the Ford to left front, left rear rather, of the Aston Martin, and these four are as close as they have been. And do not count out the Core Motorsports Ford Mustang with the dark red front. That's Mike Skeen. He's on a little bit of fuel saving, but he'll be watching what's going on ahead and licking his lips because they're slowing each other down.
And that'll help for sure. Looking back at how this move was made, was there a touch? Well, there must have been slightly. The mirror on the driver's side door for Estep was shattered, and then another rub between Aston and Mustang, but it wasn't enough to slow down the progress of young Trenton Estep.
Now the problem for Matt Plum, has that just shaken up his race rhythm under the Motul Bridge into the carousel, where we've seen so much action and entertainment this weekend. Still that drizzle falling there, and it's the two Supras now who are ganging up, and here comes Skeen. Skeen's right back in this. Behind Mike Skeen, by the way, it's the Ibiza Farm Motorsport McLaren, and that's Michael Cooper coming like a train.
Oh, remember how their race started. They were lined up in the wrong column coming to the initial green and had a drive-through right away. But Uretsky did his bit. Cooper's been fast, the strategy's been good, and they find themselves inside the top 10. Not sure they have the pace to challenge with the top 5, but it could be a good result for them. A solid top 6.
My don't even know where to start with just over 16 minutes to go for our Michelin moments of the race. There's been some great overtakes, there's been some clever strategic calls as well. But what about Mike Skeen? They were hoping that they could go from 25 minutes. I think they've just let him off the leash. I think they've just told Mike Skeen in that number 60 Mustang in 5th position that his numbers are looking good. Meantime, by the way, it's an absolute bun fight in TCR as they come up the hill. Celso Neto has lost the lead. No, he hasn't. He's still holding the lead. It's the Porsche ahead of him. Right in behind him, Denny Dupont. Bryson Morris is there as well. Carl Whitmer for MMG, the Honda Civic, which went all the way to the back at one stage, pretty much, with that brake bias issue. That's right in the fight, and that has championship implications as well. The little number 91 Porsche is the car that's in the front. That's Owen Trinkler, VRC Motorsports Group. He's trying to stay ahead of this battle.
Doing his best. Tough spot to find himself in. You don't want to interfere too much with these other class cars that are having themselves a fight for not just the win, but all the podium positions. We've got several of the championship contenders in the mix there. How about the straight line speed from that Audi, though? My goodness, the gap he was able to pull on the Hyundais. That's great news for Neto, as long as his fuel situation is okay. That's the car that's rolling the dice on the fuel.
If I had a hat, I would be just doffing it in their general direction. I mean, it's a pretty bright car. I was about to say they sneaked past without going in, but you can't sneak past when you've got a bright tangerine orange race car. But they made their decision, they've stuck to it, and they are out there reaping the benefits with under 15 minutes to go.
And if Celso can keep it up front, and if the fuel is there, this is a team that has never won in Michelin Pilot Challenge competition. That's what's at stake for them.
Oh, wow. And now he's right with Owen Trinkler. I expect that Owen, now he's been caught, might just give way here. He's holding up the leader, and there's a chance for an overtake, and through goes the Hyundai. Through goes the Hyundai there. And that was traffic. Traffic caused that overtake, and Celso Neto will not be happy there. Owen Trinkler, one of the most experienced drivers in the field, now pulls over and lets the cars go through. I think he'll be mortified at what's just happened there, with the Go Racing car sitting right in behind him. Might have thought that he would have went around him, I don't know, but he has let everybody through now. But the race lead has changed in TCR.
It has. I'm not counting Celso out, though, because again, that straight line speed of the Audi is quite strong. Look, he's already pulled that gap back in to the race leader, Denny Dupont. Meanwhile, the fight is on for the final podium position. Bryson Morris getting all he can ask for, and then some, from Carl Whitmer, who has closed him down.
This is the battle for all 3 podium positions, and this perm any 3 from 5 at the moment. Down towards turn 4. Is this the opportunity? You had identified the straight line pace of the Audi. Goes to the right hand side. It'll have to be Buffalo Gals round the outside, or is it the crisscross? It's the over and under again. Can we get the power on up the inside? We go, oh, big blocking maneuver thrown there, and a move back on the racing line. That is the leading car. How will the race control see that? Went to the inside early. I think that was okay, but then moved back to the racing line. They'll be keeping a very close eye on this. Currently in 3rd, Carl Whitmer for MMG. Sorry, Bryson Morris, then Carl Whitmer. It's a good fight back, you know, from the MMG crew as well. And Carl's a bit of a scrappy do as well, isn't he? He'll be getting up there and trying to improve.
Remember that last lap at Mid-Ohio, where he finally was able to put the move on after 20 minutes of trying to get the dramatic win there. Yeah, if given a chance, you know he'll go for it. This is big, though, for Denny Dupont here for the championship, because they come in, he and Preston Brown, 2nd in points. It's a 30-point swing, finishing 1st versus finishing in 2nd. They're set to make up some ground on Felipe and Morris, their teammates right now, but it's a question of how much staying up front has massive dividends for them.
at the front of the field. Let's check back in there. It's still the Vantage ahead of the Mustang, who's fighting a bit of a rearguard action. Matt Plum in that Team TGM car with 2 Toyotas from Pan Am and Kosh Copeland Motorsport. Mike Skeen is with them now at the moment. He seems to be holding a watching brief. And again, there's more little spits and spots of precipitation down at the bottom of turn number 3. Matt Plum did defend there going down the hill into turn 3. He's clearly feeling the pressure in turn 5. It'll be the next danger area.
Yeah, he's under some pressure here. Has that Supra, which has been so strong this weekend, and now as the track dries out, again starting to show some strength. Meanwhile, Skeen there to the inside of Jackson Bell. Little contact, little rub, but Bell hangs on.
And again a move to the left-hand side. Skeen goes again at turn number 6. Somehow just can't get it done. Goes to the inside but can't keep the momentum up through turn 7 now. They're all using that new Grass Creek runoff at the head of the field. Trenton Estep has pulled out over a second on this battle now, and second down to 4th are together. Meantime, in TCR, they're all together at the front of the field. Here's Celso Neto, tries to go around to the left, to the right, back to the left-hand side again on that number 76, Denny DuPont. Hyundai, they're coming through turn 7 now, flat out through here. Down the hill, can the Audi do something? In the 33 in 3rd position, it's Bryson Morris who puts a bit of pressure on the bright orange Audi ahead of him. That helps the other Hyundai, and now there's almost 3 wide going through the carousel. I am literally watching through my fingers.
Well, this is great news for Denny DuPont that his teammate is there putting pressure on Celso Neto in a big crash. Medusa Motorsport in the wall.
Athan Sterling from 16th position, 9:44 to go, and the left-hand side front of the car is destroyed, and that is going to bring out the Corvette safety car again. Now, we were building up to something very special. Oh, it was side by side with Mikey Taylor. He ran into the back of Mikey Taylor. Did that break something, or did it just put him offline? But that was a relatively acute angle that the Aston went into the wall for Medusa. It has not been their weekend.
Oh, it's been brutal all weekend long for them, and that's the way it ends, in the wall. But it should be noted that is a safer barrier that's been installed here at the exit of the kink by Road America in recent years, and that is a much more cushioned impact, let's say, than it would have been 10 years ago, when it would have just been concrete waiting for him at the outside of the corner.
Just building up nicely. Safety team already on site, courtesy of the new for 2026 Ford F-150 Raptor. The AMG team took delivery of those at the start of the year. My goodness, they carry a lot of equipment and they can motor on already. In fact, barely it seemed that the car had stopped rolling, that Raptor was there.
If I could, just before the yellow came out, Dan Arrow had passed the Heart of Hannah's car to get up to 9th.
Wow.
What a recovery.
That was from 22nd,
Yeah.
by the way, on the restart.
Yeah.
That's got to be a strong contender for moment of the race, in terms of, there have been a few moments in that for Dan Arrow. I'm still leaning towards, and I know this is, it seems a very long time ago now, but I'm still leaning towards that sideways moment from Haddock Grisham and that save. Ultimately, it hasn't helped them. They've been a bit of a car magnet today and had a couple of people running into them, one of which resulted in a penalty for someone else. But that doesn't help them. It doesn't give them the road position back, does it?
No, it does not. For me, the moment the race got turned on its head, it was the full course yellow, where it was a split who came to the pit lane before the yellow, who didn't, and then from that point on we had a further split with subsequent yellows who wanted to commit to trying to make it the distance, which looks like several teams are going to succeed in doing here at this stage, and others then bailed and had to try and recover. That's what puts Windward in the position we were just chronicling, among others. that is the one point in which this race totally took its shape.
What's Dan Arrow going to say if we ask him afterwards, if you'd stayed out, you'd have stayed in the top 3 or 4?
Yeah. Interesting point.
Let's go down to the pit lane. Robert Noaker out of the Macumbi Maculator Racing Ford Mustang is with our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna.
And just missing the pit entry, seemingly costing the team a lot. What happened there, Robert?
Yeah, I think it might have ended up being just coming out of Canada Corner when they were struggling with the radio back there, just how the track is. But I think Nate just missed the call and just ended up being unfortunate. So we tried to salvage with the pits, but I think we ultimately might have been able to make it with the other Mustangs out there. But our other competitors in points had some unfortunate scenarios out there after we had ours. So I think it saved us a little bit. Turner still gets some points, but yeah, it's gonna make it interesting.
Should have, would have, could have, I guess, and we were talking about the risk gambit, if it was worth it for the team. With the championship still at stake, we've got a couple of races still left to go. I know there were some questions about how fast the car was going to be, especially in the rain. Was it fast?
Yeah, it was the first time I drove this car in the rain and this track in the rain with the new pavement, so just learning the systems of the car for how to switch the rain tires and everything. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, starting fourth and trying to get up to the lead there, and yeah, it was overall really enjoyable.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Just saw this come down from race control. A penalty has been issued to the 44. That's Michael Cooper and Moise Uretsky. Instant responsibility contact with the 17. That's a drive-through penalty that they cannot serve.
I think that might be the 4, not the 44.
Okay.
Because they were too far apart on the track. The 17 is Mikey Taylor down in 16th.
That makes more sense
and
to me.
It was the 4 and the 17 that came together before the incident. For Athen in that car. I think that might be the 4 rather than the 44, but I'm prepared to be correct on that. That is what it says on the screen. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but I think that does make sense what you're saying. Oh, and now I'm getting more information that it is the 44.
Oh, okay.
This was on the restart, I guess. Remember, we saw the 17 Mikey Taylor off
the course. That's right, we did.
So that's what this is all about, evidently.
Well done.
And this is big in the championship here. I mean, none of the front runners, as we just heard in that interview, none of the GS front runners are having a good day. Cooper was the best place of them, of the top 5 in points, in 6th. And now that goes by the wayside. Had they not been penalized, they would have taken a 30-point lead in the championship, and now that will go up in the air, and the only question is how far will they fall? I suspect this race is not about to restart, and so that will be converted to a time penalty post-race.
And I haven't got the right page of the supplementals up to tell you what that is, but it doesn't help either, of course, that we're behind the Corvette safety car. So the gap between 1st and 19th is 25 seconds. So if it's a 30-second penalty, which it'll be at least that, then they'll drop back to the end of the GS field.
Well, it's usually whatever the transit time is for a drive-through, which I think is 39 seconds here, and then add a little bit to that. I don't know what the exact number is, but effectively this would put them at the back of their class on the lead lap.
It's going to put them in 19th position, I reckon. I don't think they'll fall off the lead lap, as you say, unless, I know it's just a drive-through, it's not a stop and hold, so yes, exactly right. Now, we have got all of the emergency vehicles down at that incident for Athens Sterling and Medusa Motorsport. We'll get you some news, and as soon as we have it officially, the old days of just grabbing the driver, throwing them into the back of an ambulance and getting them away from the scene, what the old timers would call scoop and shoot, those are long gone, and all sensible precautions are taken even before drivers are taken out of a car, just to make sure that you're not going to do any further damage. So we're not reading anything into the fact that everyone's down there. Be sure, as the white flag goes out, that Athen is getting the very best care at the side of the circuit, and safety first on all of those things. So we will finish. Matt Plum in second place, lost the lead just before that full course yellow came out. It was almost the long odds bet that paid off for Team TGM, but they'll end up on the podium. Trenton Estep continues this extraordinary run for this new team, Car Blanche, this weekend with a black and red car, the number 66 on top of the podium. And it's Pan Am Motorsport with another great result for Toyota, with Kosh Copeland in fourth. Core Motorsport's Mike Skeen, who looked like he had something in the last few laps, he'll finish in fifth. Ibiza Farm, crucially, in sixth, but with the penalty will drop way out of contention. That moves car bar number 37 up to sixth. Luca Mars up to seventh. No,
you are correct. Sorry, I thought we had a car stop, but it was just our screen frozen.
Okay.
So crisis averted.
Okay. Luca Mars up into seventh, or Turner Motorsports number 95. Winwood Racing will get the points for eighth position. Bryce's championship challenge is dented, but it is not on the scrap heap by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, and that's why we thought that they came in under that yellow instead of gambling, because had it gone green and they run out, it would have been a disaster. This way, they at least had a chance to salvage something.
Good point.
And they have.
Well, in ninth position, Heart of Racing and the two Hannahs, that could and probably should have been a top five, maybe a top three finish. They did not get the rub of the green. They got the rub of everybody else's car in side-by-side racing. But that was a good run by Hannah and Hannah. Morgan Burkhardt taking 10th position. Guys, I've got to ask you this very quickly. Moment of the race in GS, Ryan?
I'm sorry, you said quickly. I go back to the full course yellow that sent us down this interesting strategic path. I can't remember exactly which yellow it was, but that was the moment. Yeah.
So basically, that effectively becomes carte blanche then.
Correct.
Because those were the guys who benefit.
Yeah.
And Arjuna agrees with that. Arjuna, TCR?
Oh, that's a really difficult one, John. I think the Go Racing Stallion crew will have a case to be made for the call to stay out there that almost got them the win. But ultimately, maybe the moment of the race was that moment in traffic.
Could have been. I'm with you. The 55 car stopped and half a lap back at the start of the race on the formation lap, come through to second. They rolled the dice. Celso Neto almost won that, almost won it, just for a little drift wide. So it will be the winner, number 66, that takes our Michelin moment of the race for that split-second decision to get into the pit lane. It paid off for the Carte Blanche machine, and in TCR, the second place machine, Go Racing with Stallion, for staying out, for doing the opposite. Two different things paid off in different ways for our Michelin moments of the race. To the line for Michelin Pilot Challenge at the Road America 120, it's Aston Martin and Carte Blanche, the new team, a new era for Aston Martin and Carte Blanche in this championship. And they come home ahead of Team TGM, Pan Am Motorsport, the first of two Toyotas in the top four, with Kosh Copeland Motorsport, then Core, Carbon, Turner, Winwood Racing. And remember, Carbon are going to drop out of that number 37 car. So actually, sorry, no, it's the 44 car that's dropping out, and that's already happened. And as I suggested, they have dropped down to 19th position in class, 31st overall. In TCR, Brian Herder Autosport, championship implications here. Denny DuPont and the 76 crew winner from Celso Neto, and the 55 Audi. Then Bryson Morris, the 33, keeping their championship hopes very much alive by scraping the third place. Not scraping, they got the third place. MMG through in fourth position. They've salvaged some points as well, ahead of Brian Herter, number 18, in 5th, and the top 6 made up with KMW. Arjuna down in the pit lane. Let's take some of the atmosphere.
Alan
Just
Patton's just
finding
chatting with our
his
colleagues at
spot
NBC, John. I'll give you a shout when we're ready.
Absolutely. What a win for that team. And Carte Blanche have announced themselves, I think, whatever they decide to do in Pilot Challenge and in WeatherTech for next year, they've announced themselves as someone to keep an eye on. And here they are, having won the race here at Road America.
Alan Patton, smile on his face. Alan, for those that don't know, you've only been racing competitively for about 3 years when your partner gave you the push to leap off the cliff. And here you are, a winner in IMSA Pilot Challenge. What does that mean?
Man, it means everything. Yeah, I've been driving 3 years, racing 2 years, so it's been a pretty crazy journey. Like you said, my wife, she supported me the whole way, and I've just met amazing people, the whole team here at Carte Blanche YRB. Super thankful to them. So yeah, it just means a lot. And of course, my amazing teammate, Trenton.
How much have you been learning this year? Because maybe an interesting stat, every race finish this year has been an improvement, but you can't improve from number one.
Yeah, we're just going to try to stay there. I'm learning a tremendous amount from Trenton. He's absolutely first class. So very fortunate to be in the car with him, and very fortunate to be with this whole team.
Go spray some champagne.
Yep, can't wait.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from that team. Arjuna using that amazing stat that every single race they've improved their finishing position. I said earlier in the weekend, there's nowhere to go but the top 3 and maybe the top spot, and that's what they did.
I looked at you askance there. I did. I raised an eyebrow. I have to admit that I was like, oh, come on.
I wasn't predicting it, to be fair. I can't take credit for that, but I was just
Powerball at the weekend.
yeah, just analyzing trends. Fantastic result for them. First career wins for both drivers. Not a surprise for Alan. He's new to the championship, but for Trenton Estep, he had never even been on the podium before.
In this championship?
Yeah.
Good job I didn't put the house on that, because I'd be living in a car. Carte Blanche, Team TGM and Pan Am, 3 different manufacturers, Aston, Ford and Toyota. Kosh Kubler Motorsport, that's a good result for them as well, Core up into 5th position. They rolled the dice a little bit as well. Carbon, some slight redemption for them with the 37 car, although the 39 car damaged and out of the race. Turner Motorsport, again, same sort of thing for them. One of their 2 cars with a decent result. Winwood, 8th position. That is huge. So I think they probably did do the right thing for the championship there. They couldn't have known there was going to be further yellows, and if they'd run out near the end, they could have finished down in the 20s. The Heart of Racing team with the 2 Hannahs certainly deserve better than what they got. That car had pace, they had pace, and Hannah Grisham at the beginning was just spellbinding to watch in those transition conditions. Top 10 made up by CSM, who had the clonk early on, remember, and they were struggling as well with that Porsche. Outside the top 10, there were stories for Macumbi Macaleer Racing for their Ford, for ST Racing by Random Vandals. Bit of an anonymous day for Bill Oberlin and Sam Tan in the BMW. BSI and Murillo, 13th and 14th. Unitronic, should have been a better day for Chris Miller and Mikey Taylor in the 17 Porsche. That's been the story of their season. It should have been a better day. They have had no luck at all. BRC, Owen Trinkler there at the end, holding on to 16th position. Auto Technica, LAP having problems. And in TCR, it's the 76 crew, Brian Herder Autosport with Curb Agajanian, who win it from Go Racing with Stallion in 2nd position. And in 21st, 3rd in class, the Hyundai of Brian Herder Autosport, Bryson Morris and Mason Filippi, who started that. MMG coming back after a brake issue early on to a very respectful finish for them in 4th. Then 5th position, Brian Herter. KMW could have been better as well. What a great start to the race by Pasquarello, though. That was fantastic entertainment. Pegram Racing next up in 25th position, 7th in class. Then Heart Racing, they had to struggle from a bad qualifying position after they lost a lap, having caused a red earlier on. Baker Racing, not the best of days for either of their cars. The 56 car, the better of the two, ahead of Brian Motorsport's number 98 and the 52 of Baker Racing in 11th. And the top 12 made up by Victor Gonzalez Racing. Everyone else has stories to tell, and they're not very good, I'm afraid. We'll wrap that up after we've heard more from the pit lane and Arjuna.
Preston Brown, winner again for the first time since Daytona. Talk us through the strategy in that race, because we were all wondering what was happening.
Well, I mean, you know, we were all wondering what was happening in terms of the weather as we started. It was pretty clear that, you know, obviously at some point it was going to dry up and we were going to have to switch. But, I mean, I think it was just kind of fortuitous that it happened when it did in the pit rotation. The real thing was the fuel strategy, right? We didn't know whether we can make it to the end or not, but it looked really iffy. So I know, you know, our sister car decided to gamble and stop a little earlier, and the Audi decided to skip entirely, which probably would have worked out. It did work out for them, but even if the race had been green, it probably would. But yeah, we needed to take a splash with everybody else, so then it was just put us right back where we were, and we were ready for the fight to the end.
In the championship fight, that's 4 finishes inside the top 2. Congratulations, go enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant stuff to Arjuna Kankapati, working hard as our BDO pit lane reporter. Let's have a quick look at the provisional points in GS. First of all, Ryan's been doing the arithmetic.
And it has closed up tremendously because no one in the top 5 in points finished better than 7th in today's race.
Wow.
That was McIvern and Mars. Nice recovery for them. They had that long pit stop.
Good point.
And they end up in 7th place. So here's the situation. Cicero and Noaker continue to lead, but it's only by 100 points. Crines and McAleer and McIvern and Mars are tied at 17-10, 100 points back. Yeah, exactly. And then Uretsky and Cooper 10 points further behind them. Incredibly close between those 4 crews in GS.
And that could go any way between those two. TCR.
Yeah, TCR, it closed in a little bit with the win for Brown and DuPont. It's now 150 points first to second. Morris and Filippi, though, still have the points lead, having finished 3rd here today. Bergstein and Godsacker, it looked like it could have been their day early on. They only finish in 5th, so they dropped to 300 points back, tied with Whitmer and Montour for MMG.
Sets up the last part of the season really, really well. The odd thing about this, we talked about momentum, we talked about it in the countdown to green. Nobody is getting a good run, particularly not in GS.
No, it's hard to put a bunch of good results back to back. That's what we're learning here. Part of that has to do with the vicissitudes of racing luck, but some of it has to do with the level of competition in the championship, and a little bit of everything was thrown at the teams here this weekend, with the weather, with the conditions changing, cautions coming out at very interesting times from a strategic perspective. It was a tough one, and really interesting to see who was able to capitalize and break through.
I was very impressed with the driving standards in the first part of the race in the trickiest conditions.
Yeah, I agree completely, and that's when some of the least experienced drivers were in the cars as well, and they actually handled it with aplomb. We know from talking to drivers in the pit lane, Arjuna had a couple say, hey, our strategy is based on an expectation of yellows in the first hour, and they had to wait for that first yellow to come. Then when it did, yellows breed yellows, as you like to say. But that said, you're right, the opening stanza was really captivating.
We move on next to another challenging circuit for Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Is there any other kind on the schedule? VIR, though, what a great place. Another classic, old-school type of venue. And it doesn't take prisoners, right? If you have a miscue there, kind of similar to this place, yes, you've got some big grassy areas you can go off in, but it can bite you pretty quickly. It's a great racetrack, though, and a great showcase for both the GS and TCR classes.
And I'm delighted to say that I have not a clue who takes the momentum, who we think, not even a manufacturer who has any advantage going in there.
Does momentum exist in Michelin Pilot Challenge this year?
That's a very, very good point. Ryan Marine was alongside me, John Hindhaugh in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Our junior counterparty was working hard as our BDO pit lane reporter. Congratulations to our Michelin Moment of the Race winners, Carte Blanche in GS category, and Go Racing with Stallion, their number 55 crew, for playing opposite ends of the pit stop game. Well done to both of them. A big thank you to our camera operators who've been through all kinds of things here at Road America today, and of course to our production team, audio, visual, and the tape apes. Thank you, Riley, and the rest of the team up at Concord. I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for being with us. We'll have more from VIR next time. Join us at the track for more Michelin Pilot Challenge.